everybody. This is Inside the TMC family. I am Faith Howard Mooney, the VP of Member Engagement at TMC. And I have with me David Delamarter, who is the Mortgage Servicing Manager at Three Rivers Credit Union. Thanks for doing this with me, David.
Thanks for having me.
This is exciting. So you are known within our network of being a very vibrant person. So I cannot wait to hear your answers to our questions and to get to know you a little bit better. But want to just share a little bit about Three Rivers in the beginning here and who you are as a credit union?
Sure. Three Rivers is a not-for-profit organization. We operate in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. We have some properties in Florida. We're growing our actual brick and mortar as a credit union, where some places are trying to shut things down. We're trying to reopen. We're in the people business, so we found that getting more branches and more locations is where we're going to find the best benefit to help with that financial wellness conversation and just making our community a better place.
And you're doing lots of exciting things out there. So for those of you that are watching, follow Three Rivers Credit Union on social media to see what their community participation is, because they're doing lots of great things in the communities that they support. But let's get going, find out a little bit more about you. So share with me what your first job ever was.
So my first real job was at Burger King when I was 15. I walked a half mile to work. It was down the street from my house, so I walked there over all summer long and worked the front desk. I wasn't allowed to touch the food, so front desk, cleaning the lobby and the bathrooms, and just learned a lot about work ethic and doing a great job. So
yeah, I when I talk to people about this, it's like some people have amazing first jobs, but a lot of people's first jobs really are those that just kind of teach you maybe what you don't want to do permanently versus and how to kind of get into that mode of having to go to work. So kind of a lot of people start out in food service related jobs, I think, as their first job. So from there, how did you end up in mortgage?
So after high school, I went down to IU Bloomington, failed out, and came home, tail between my legs, because I was a pretty good student and really smart and excited to go to college. So came back, had a few jobs. The local bank in our area was hiring, so I put an application in and started out in the file room. So I was literally in a file room filing papers for 40 hours a week for several months until another position opened, and just continued to rise through the ranks. On the banking side, that bank actually sold off all their mortgage accounts. So when I moved to another bank 10 years later, started out, they realized I knew flood, they realized I knew HMDA, and the rest is history as far as just learning escrow and building that team out and growing that team. And then been here at Three Rivers for about 2.5 years now, and just fully immersed in the mortgage industry. So I'd say 12 years in mortgages, but really 2.5 really at this level.
It's exciting, and what a great story, and what a good experience to have. I mean, I think sometimes in order to grow from like the bottom up and kind of learn everything and how everything works, actually makes you see things that other people don't necessarily see if they come into a position and haven't had to do that. So that's exciting. You've proven yourself. One thing that when you came into that file room or into a bank for the first time, that you wish you would have known that you didn't know then, but that now seems like most obvious, and maybe something you would tell one of your new employees that had never been in bank or mortgage before?
Sure. So one thing I do with my team is when they're new, they really don't know anything. And I call that their superpower. I tell them to leverage their newness. That is what you bring to the team. That is what you bring to the party. You bring the unknown. So when you ask a question, when you say, well, why do you do it that way? It makes us have to sit back, reflect on why we do it, and maybe come up with a better way if it really didn't make sense. So always make sure you're asking a ton of questions. I had one loan assistant that I asked a million questions to, and she got to the point where she'd fire me on a daily basis. David, you're fired. Because she was just like, I don't know why we do it. That's just how it's done. And that was never a good enough answer for me. So just being inquisitive, always taking on that next assignment, always going to that training, whatever's put in front of you, somebody hopefully has a plan for you. And they're trying to lead you to that, but you got to take that initiative. So I would say always say yes, even if you don't feel like you're ready. Most of the time, management won't ask you to do something they don't think you can handle, but then struggle through it, figure it out, ask lots of questions.
Great advice. Great advice for anybody coming in that's new for sure. And you're obviously a great manager too, because that's like they obviously must feel comfortable with you after you share that with them. I think sometimes people are hesitant to ask questions when they're new and they don't know anything, and they're like the fresh set of eyes
Yes.
into
That's
something that those of us that have been in maybe don't see anymore, right?
Yeah, it's important. It's an important part of the team dynamic and something that allows us to continue to grow and learn. Even my team members that have been with us for 20 years, they're continuously learning and growing. And I found that sometimes you know things too well, you forget what it's like to not know everything. So
Yeah,
when I go to a new training, hire training, or put something on our stream, our social or our internal social media, I'm going to explain it the way I know it, 20 years in banking, not the way a frontline person would understand it being fresh to banking. So that's super important. And I challenge my team a lot to be like, here's what I want to say. Does this make sense? What questions do you have? Because I want to get ahead of it so that there aren't those questions or they're asking a more educated question. So it's all about knowledge share. And it's just really important that we, as longtime members of this organization and this industry, share what we have. And we hear that time and time again in all of our meetings. Share what you
yeah.
learn.
Share what you learn and be open to hearing something new and different. My one big pet peeve is the statement of we've always done it that way. That's like not that's one that I don't like
Oh,
that one myself. It doesn't sound like you would like that one either.
oh, it's the worst answer ever. And having
Yeah,
somebody new in there to challenge it versus me all the time actually makes me helps me out. And then I always tell people, let me know if I can break any ties. You're not always going to agree to things. I'm going to have a third opinion. I can help break a tie. Let's get it done and do what's right for that membership.
great advice. Great advice. If you weren't in mortgage, what would we find you doing?
I would be an event planner. So I actually co-founded two non-for-profits across the country, one here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and another down in Dallas, Texas. Yeah, it's a longer story, but we're part of a national non-for-profit, and we put on LAN parties, computer parties for our communities, and it's just a lot of fun. So 3 or 4 nights a week, I'm in a meeting from 8 to 10 local time with people all across the country planning events that raises money for charity and makes our community a better place. So I'd probably do that. I really enjoy that aspect of what I do there, and that's where I choose to give my free time.
Yeah, and still servicing communities.
Yeah, very
What a
much so.
what a great way what a great way to do that. So I've heard from people that you're a very proud girl dad of three.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure the holidays are like, and I know the holidays are a very important time frame for you.
Mm-hmm.
So last question, your favorite holiday memory or tradition?
So I grew up Catholic. So every Christmas Eve, we would go to my mom's side of the family and do Christmas. She had 6 sisters, so there was a huge family gathering. My biggest memory is falling asleep during midnight mass. Um, the smell of the incense and all that stuff. That's one of my core memories. Also driving around with my dad, which won't go into the details of what that was, but if you know, you know. Around the holidays when he did his side gig was really fun. Driving through a drive-through with who he was just was really neat and just was a really cool experience for me to be able to share that with him.
Yes. And if you want to maybe catch up some of that, you should be joining us for the 12 days of TMC. I'm hopeful anyway that maybe that would give you some clue into what that relationship was with his dad as
Yeah,
well. I
a little
so
teaser for things to
a
come.
a little teaser for things to come. Either that, reach out to David once you see this interview and get to know him a little bit better and make the connection and find out that way for sure. I so appreciate you doing this. You are just a big shiny light in our process with our team. Everyone here loves you and loves working with you. So appreciate you doing this with me. It means a lot that
Yeah.
you would.
Appreciate your time and sharing what I can with the world. That's where I feel like I'm being called to do is to share the knowledge I have and my good experiences, my bad experiences, all of it to just make the world a better place. There's so much stuff out there right now. All we need is a smile. You never know what that smile or that asking and actually asking, are you really fine? And just dig in with people, can make those connections. And in today's world where everything's digital, it's great to be able to see people and interact. So go out there and say hi to somebody.
Exactly why we love you. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thanks, guys.